morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 676 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, oh boy, that was wrong. Today, recording day is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. And as you can tell here at the Beaver Lodge, it's an extremely sunny day. And hence, that's why my color is kind of weird. I'm very, very red here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Not too many elements on the show today because some of the elements that are there are pretty big. So we won't be talking about too many subjects today, but still a packed show for you. But before we get into it, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
I think it's good. I don't feel like I slept. I only woke up a few times, but I don't feel rested at all. So I wake up dehydrated every day, right? So you always feel hungover. No alcohol, but I feel hungover. It, by 10 a.m. it should be gone because I'll get enough fluids into me. That'll be good. But yeah, so mental health I think is okay today. Remains to be seen. Jury's still out, to be honest with you, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am doing better.
That's good.
I have to say. Being able to weight bear a little bit on the other leg is helping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to get around a little faster. I'm able to stand up a little longer, do more things. I'm have to compensate less, so the other parts of my body are not as sore. But I haven't yet figured out pacing myself so I don't exhaust myself. Now that I have this extra freedom, it's like, I'm just going to jump on it. And it's just, whoa, horsey, whoa. Because you can overdo it really quickly, right?
Yeah, I get that.
So,
and you always want to get back to what you were before, right? But if you rush yourself,
exactly,
you're just going to do damage, and that's not good.
And then you feel like there's lost time.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make up for it. And the other part is my beaver sweetie would not call it that, but I've been a little bit of a burden the last 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, because I haven't been able to do as much for myself. That's what happens, right? Somebody has to take on a little bit extra bit of the load for a bit. So, you want it, being the keener that I am. Well, now that I can do things, I say, okay, well, I can do that now. And it's like I get halfway through the day and say, I can't do that now. I thought I could. But I couldn't. Yeah, really. So yeah, but overall mood better. Feeling that I am getting stronger. I'm actually able with each day to put a little more weight, a little more flexibility in the roll of the foot. But yesterday, at some point I didn't have the boot on, and I was in the kitchen, and I was just walking around, and I guess we must have cut something where the little piece fell on the floor or something like that, or I pulled a bowl of cereal and there was like one Cheerio on the floor or something. But I stepped on something that was a little crunchy like this, and it's like, as you're putting your weight on something, you feel your foot on something, you adjust, right? Because, well, when I adjusted, I put a little the way that my foot went, put a little extra weight where it shouldn't have. It's like, oh, okay, so that's why we keep wearing the boot. Okay, yep. I went to go get the boot. And it's like, oh God. Fortunately, it only hurt for about like 5 minutes, and not the radiating thing that like would hurt all day when I happened to like accidentally um, get kicked or something like that in the first few days. So, but it was like, okay, it's not a complete free for all yet. You still got, because it's like it's just it's so hot in that boot, and when
Mhm.
yesterday was just scorching, and I was just like, let that foot breathe. So, but yeah, then you got to watch where you step, because if it's just the natural reaction. The other thing that happened, yeah, I was like trying to get a mosquito, and when I was doing it, I was like reaching out for it, so which it shifted the weight on my foot. Oh, can't do that either now, can we? So it's all the little things that you don't think about, like those little involuntary movements, or the ways that your body adjusts, that you don't actually think about until you're sore in one particular spot, and then you move your body. So, oh, that's a movement I still can't make. Okay. Lesson learned. So, yeah, it's not full freedom yet. Well, it's okay. No damage done, which is the most important part. And learning my limits, also very important.
Indeed.
All right.
I have a quick hit for you that just came across the timeline 54 seconds ago. You got to see this. This is I'll show you the clip, and then I'll show you two accompanying texts, and it'll all make sense.
Okay. Oh no.
Nope, wait until you hear this.
Okay.
That have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is he talking about?
Israel and Iran.
Both of them.
Yeah. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, is what the president of the United States just said. So he tweeted this at 1:00 in the morning, or tweeted it, posted this on his Truth Social. The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
CEO of the world.
That's what he's going for, right? And then he tweeted this at 10 to 7. Posted this at 10 to 7. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. He just wants to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. And then the other thing, well, apparently somebody in Pakistan's going to nominate him for one. But of course, that's like all the general nominations that go to the committee, and then the committee like weeds them out. So you find somebody to nominate him every year, it appears. And then he had this other one. It's like, I'm watching. Don't you dare raise the price of oil. I'm watching you. It's like, you fucking did this.
Yeah, this is your cause. You did this. Strait of Hormuz is blockaded because Iran decided, well, if you're going to bomb me, I'm going to screw you.
Yes. They called me Taco, so I need to look strong. So I'm going to bomb stuff. But hey, don't you dare do anything to the price of oil. Do not make me pay the consequences for my actions. Girl, sit down. That'll be enough out of you. It's just, oh my God.
This was live on Fox News. I got to show this again, because it's like live on Fox News just before he boards Marine One.
That have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Someone has been defied. Someone doesn't like it because someone's looking weak again. Someone's looking like Bibi Netanyahu's manservant or head waiter, and he doesn't like that.
No, he does not.
No, Toddler Trump is throwing a tantrum again. Hmm. And God, and just it's like I wrote it in one of the editorials. It's like forever terrible twos in a world devoid of pacifiers with this guy. Just-
Yeah.
God. So maybe we'll deal with him later. But a couple of quick hits before we get into it. Uh, Canada's ambassador to the United States, Kirsten Hillman, uh, who's been working at the embassy since 2017, seems that her term as ambassador has been extended or renewed. Prime Minister Carney asked her to stay on, and it seems that she is going to be the point person on trade in Washington for the negotiating of the deal. So yes, we have Dominique LeBlanc, taking care of that, the one economy minister and all of that, and all the other ministers that sort of play in a hand in terms of international trade and all of those. But it seems that she is going to be the point person specifically. It makes sense. I mean, she's been working on a file like that since 2017, so 8 years experience, keeping the same ambassador in place, keeping a familiar name, a familiar face that everybody's there and gets to know. um, from the interviews that I've seen with her throughout the years, and she's getting more TV time recently, seems to be, particularly competent. And of course, Canada has the best trade negotiators in the world.
Oh yeah.
So she's very, very well supported. A good strategic decision for Canada there on that one. And that's some pretty good news. In this case, some stability is considering the instability we're getting from the other side. At least some stability on our side is probably really, really, really wise. And also yesterday, there were by-elections. It was by-election night in Alberta. Ba-da-da-da-da. Well, I can't finish that because that's copyrighted. Um, and yeah, it seems that everything went pretty much as expected, in the sense that Naheed Nenshi did gain access to the legislature by winning his by-election, which is a good result for him. And it would also seem that in the other electoral district in Edmonton, in which there was, an NDP candidate running, that candidate also won. So that's good. And in the more rural district, of course, Olds Didsbury Three Hills, it was the AUCP candidate that got the seat there. So according to Janet French of CBC, Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi has won a by-election in Edmonton Strathcona, according to unofficial results posted by Elections Alberta. Now, these are unofficial results because they need to be audited before they're declared official. Right? Just that's it's a technicality here, but yes, they're unofficial numbers at the moment.
Mhm.
With all polls reporting, Nenshi's party colleague Gurtej Singh Brar was also leading in the Edmonton Ellerslie race, and in Central Alberta, United Conservative Party hung on to a seat in Old Didsbury Three Hills. With all polls in Edmonton Strathcona reporting, Naheed Nenshi had 7,052 of the 9,665 votes counted, or about 82% of the 82% of the ballots. So, pretty strong win. People were wondering. There was no doubt that he would win because Edmonton is sort of like the orange or red, depending, enclave
Mhm.
in Alberta. Um,
With
but
some pockets in Calgary as well.
yeah, exactly. But he's a Calgary mayor,
Mhm.
right? Not an Edmonton mayor. So
Right.
even though people know of him, whatnot, he doesn't have any track record in that city. So 82, and it's been over 10 years since the floods thing when he
Yes.
became a star. So 82% of the ballots, pretty good,
Well,
pretty good, exceptionally good.
that whole episode during the flooding, he's like, I can't believe I have to say this. People don't go down to the Bow River.
Really?
And he literally, I can't believe I have to say this. Don't go down to the Bow River. It's flooding.
Yep. The UCP candidate Darby Crouch earned 14% of the vote. He said, "This is your result, your victory. It's your inroads you made tonight." So then she defeated 5 other candidates in that one. In Olds Didsbury Three Hills, Political newcomer Tara Sawyer of the UCP did earn the seat, but it seems that the UCP did not win it as convincingly as a lot of people thought it would. She had with all polls reporting. Sorry, let's try that again. With all polls reporting, not poors, Sawyer had 61%, or 9,363 of the 15,318 votes tallied. So really interesting that in Olds Didsbury 3 Hills, a more rural riding, there were actually more votes cast overall.
Yeah, that's not normally the case.
Yeah, than in Edmonton. So there was a lot of people who felt the need to mobilize to come out against the UCP in that district, which is kind of interesting. None of the vote coalesced around someone against the UCP, but still, 61% is that's a place where you would expect 80 or so for the UCP.
It's the
So
Republican Party of Alberta that got 18% of the vote.
exactly.
What?
So, but I mean, again, 18% of the vote, that's interesting.
Mhm.
It's interesting in two ways, right? Because it's like, okay, there's definitely a rift between the movement,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
But for those of us who are pro Canada, seeing the separatist candidate getting 18%, not bad. Not necessarily terrible news.
18% of 15,000 votes tallied, so
Yeah. Not necessarily terrible news at all.
and then the Wild Rose Loyalty Coalition was in a distant 4th place. They don't give me that doesn't say what the number was there, so
Yeah, I can look that up at some point later there on the Alberta elections website. But yeah, Bev Toast from the NDP came in second place there. So that's good there. Tara Sawyer is quoted as saying, "What I keep telling them and what they clearly recognized is we didn't need a divisive party. We need to remain strong, and we have a government that's working every day on all the issues that are frustrating them." Yeah, take that literally. The government of Alberta is working on the issues that frustrate you, working to make them even more frustrating. However,
so it would
that's what they're
seem.
doing. Pardon?
So it would seem.
Yeah, so it would seem. That seat was vacated by former legislator, speaker, and longtime UCP MLA Nathan Cooper, who resigned last month to become Alberta's representative in Washington, D.C. He was at Sawyer's victory party and congratulated her with a hug. Republican Party leader Cameron Davies, who we mentioned, I think, very briefly yesterday, said he's undeterred by the by-election result. I am not surprised. Yeah, and to put it that way as well, that's 18% for the leader of the party. So might be assuming that people who aren't leaders might get a little less in their by-elections if that was the case. So, not a particularly astute man, based on certain comments that I've seen from him on the internet. He seemed to have some type of belief, along with Marco van Hugenbos, that the sex ed curriculum in Alberta was teaching children that pulling out is the way to go. No. If you actually look at the graph that talks about it, um, there is a series of methods to avoid pregnancy in there, and then they have a rating next to them, and one of them is not effective at all, and then one has like one check mark, has two check mark, one has three check marks, and pulling out because I guess technically sometimes it works, had one check mark, but many other things had more. So if you're reading it, it seems to be that what they're teaching children is that pulling out is not particularly effective. But they're turning around, they're teaching kids to pull out. I can't believe this. It's like, okay, one, you do not know how to read.
Clearly.
Clearly, right? It's like, two, it's check marks.
Mhm.
You don't understand that one check mark is fewer than two or three? Really? And you want to lead not only in this writing, but then eventually take Alberta out of Canada and lead the Republic of Alberta when you can't understand check marks.
Look,
That may explain why you got 18%, buddy.
some people just aren't that smart.
I'm just saying. But he says he's undeterred because, of course, they're always undeterred. There's a growing movement of conservatives who are not happy with the status quo, and that movement is not going away anytime soon. But oh my God, we wish it would. And then, of course, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is prepared to launch an Alberta Next panel, which is, her way of keeping up the fight against Ottawa. She's got this tweet saying, like, we're going to work on this and we're working on this. And we don't need Ottawa's permission. And it's like, boo boo kitty.
Nobody.
Just like shut your treacherous pie hole. All those things that you mentioned are exclusively provincial responsibility. Ottawa has not everything you say has to be framed as a battle against Ottawa. Take a frickin' day off.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
It's not gonna
have
happen.
baked lasagna.
It's not going to happen. No, won't happen because as far as she's concerned, Ottawa's to blame for every ill in the province. Underfunding of healthcare, Ottawa.
No. She needs the fight. She is nobody and nothing without the fight.
It's the only way she can stay in power because she has enough people convinced that Ottawa's out to get her. Ottawa's out to get Alberta and hurt Alberta. Alberta's the economic engine of the country. We support the nation. No, you don't. How many times do we have to explain this and put the numbers out for you to see?
Yeah. And of course, she's wiping off a loss because that report into the Canada pension plan thing that she wanted to start an Alberta pension plan that Albertans, just like mining coal, keep on telling her, no, we don't want, that she fought to not release for about 2 years. Well, turns out that, 63% of Albertans are opposed to it. And not very many UCP supporters are actually in favor of it, which is kind of interesting because they want to separate but still keep the CPP. Anyway, but of course, you're gonna. I fully expect Danielle Smith to say only 10% of my voters want it, and 63% of Albertans don't want it. Well, gee, that's a band-aid. Let me go for it, right?
Of course she would.
That's just her thing, right? So I don't know. Things are not going well for her overall. And yes, the people that are all in for her are still all in for her, and a lot of them have not yet realized. They haven't had their Marjorie Taylor Greene moment yet.
Or their Michelle Ferrari in the bathtub with a box of wine moment.
But I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene because apparently all of a sudden she's like out saying things against Trump because he made those strikes.
Yeah.
Right. So, they haven't had that moment yet. But at some point, they are going to realize that she is the problem.
Did you know that Marjorie Taylor Greene has a book coming out?
How many pictures are in? I shouldn't say that. I'm so mean.
Look, I can guarantee you it was ghostwritten.
Yeah.
It was ghostwritten. Come on.
Yeah. You can't be spending that much time in front of cameras and writing a book at the same time.
No.
Right. we haven't perfected cloning yet.
And actually try and do the job that you were hired to do. So, it was ghostwritten. I guarantee you it was ghostwritten.
Yeah.
I don't know if it says that it was ghostwritten or not. Let me see if I can find that.
All right. And then in Ellerslie, that's why the article says doesn't seem to have won at the time of the writing of the article. It was Mr. Brar, who's a Punjabi language broadcaster and self-taught tech enthusiast, had 51% of the 8,511 by-election votes cast at the moment that the article was written. And he had won a very competitive NDP nomination against 3 other community leaders. So this is a very battle-tested candidate. And yes, more results were waiting at that time to be able to confirm it, but it does seem that since then it has been confirmed, and hopefully I will be able to find the exact result for you here. But when the legislature rose in May, there were 46 UCP MLAs, 36 from the NDP and 2 independents, and the legislature is set to reconvene on the last week of October, and it seems that in that sense, everything pretty much held. So there won't be any changes in the legislature that way. So
I found it.
You found it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was written in November of 2023, which I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
And she says she wrote it.
Mm.
But you'll notice that it's on sale for $24.55, 40% off the listed price of $41.20. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it's not a new one that's coming out.
No. I just saw a post about it the other day that she'd written a book. I didn't know. So it turns out, yeah, she did. But that was like a year and a half ago.
Okay. Interesting. So once with all polling stations and everything reporting, old Edmonton Strathcona had 7,952 for the NDP and 1,314 for the UCP. So that was Naheed Nenshi's. And Edmonton Ellerslie, the one that was very close, ended up having a bigger split near the end as the night came in, with 4,327 votes going to the NDP candidate and the UCP candidate having 3,239. So a difference of over 1,000 votes in this case. So it was at the end a pretty clear decision, even though it was still close at the time of writing.
Christian. Sorry.
Paulette method for 38 years, one child, and planned.
Well done.
Well done.
You get the golf clap for that one.
It is possible, but don't rely on it, kids. Don't rely on it.
Well, that's the thing. That's what they're trying to teach them. This is not the most reliable method.
Yes, it can work, but if you want to be sure, you have many better options. So, yeah. So anyway, life in Alberta. If you see an article today, it's an opinion piece by Mr. Rick Bell on that. Listen, who needs Danielle Smith to keep on opening up her mouth and saying nasty things about Ottawa when you've got Rick Bell?
Yeah, he's just
that's all I'll say.
Yeah,
that opinion piece was.
I mean,
it's like, dude, like, I understand you like her. I understand you're devoted to the cause, but even Brian Lilly isn't that desperate.
Is he capable of writing anything about another party that isn't a hit piece?
He had one for a couple of days when Mrs. Smith went down to Washington to try to negotiate a oil deal, and then Donald Trump sort of like pulled the rug out from under her, and then he was so like, I can't believe Donald Trump did that to us and made her look foolish. And look, but it lasted like about 24 hours. I think he took an aspirin, and then the moment passed.
Mm-hmm.
So, the main meat, of course, of today's show is our continuous path towards conscious decoupling away from, Trump specifically, but the United States. And to that effect, the Prime Minister of Canada was in Brussels yesterday for the European Canada Summit. Before things got underway, the Prime Minister did have a meeting with the leader of Belgium, Prime Minister De Vere. I don't know how to pronounce that, actually. De Vere? I have a feeling that this is probably Flemish and less than French, and I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I apologize, but D-E and then W-E-V-E-R, Weaver?
The Weaver,
maybe. But
it might be something like Della House or something. It'll be like
right.
Not at all the way it's spelled.
I've never actually heard his name, so I
Mm.
can't recreate it. But he took office in February, so Belgium has a new leader. The leaders discussed expanding bilateral trade and investment with a focus on advancing clean energy solutions, such as nuclear and hydrogen, strengthening critical minerals supply chains, and deepening cooperation on defense procurement. They also affirmed their support for Ukraine's sovereignty and agreed on the imperative of achieving a just and lasting peace. The leaders also underscored their commitment to defense cooperation in support of security in Europe, particularly on NATO's eastern flank. And a meeting with the leader of Belgium is particularly important, not only because the EU stuff is headquartered in Brussels, but if you remember when we were looking at that final, um, I don't know if it's like final, but ratification of the CETA deal with United States around the time that Chrysler Freeland had come to the cameras and that iconic moment and saying, if you can't make a deal with Canada, who can you make a deal with? It was the Walloon region in Belgium that was sort of like one of the stumbling blocks. And not necessary, even though the EU as a whole has signed it, there are still a few countries that are yet to ratify it, I believe, fully. And and I believe Belgium might be one of those. So it may have had a little more strategic importance to make sure that every single one of the nations have ratified in their own way as well, and not just the EU as a bloc as a whole.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? So extra levels there on that one. At the meeting, the European-Canada Defence Security Partnership was signed. This has been telegraphed coming for quite a while here. It is described as something that does not replace NATO activities, but as a supplement to NATO, which allows both nations to build faster and better and to make more and smarter investments in everything having to do with defense security. The agreement does open the door for Canada companies to participate in about $1.2 trillion worth of contracts that will be up for grabs with regard to the Rearm Europe program. And that is seen as a step towards making Canada less reliant on and less vulnerable to the whims of the United States of America. Eventually, it will also help the Canadian government partner with other allied nations to buy military equipment under what's known as the SAFE program. And that itself is valued at about 150 billion euros. So that is also a big deal, like a really big deal. So yeah, setting ourselves up for the future. Now, again, how much of that we're going to have access to specifically is, one has to, it's not going to be the full 150 billion, of course, euros. But it's still interesting. And it seems that in these discussions, things such as, because, how do I put it? We have to make sure that there's enough business going on either side of the Atlantic for this, right? So it's not only about selling what we do well and them selling what they do well, but making sure that we're building capacity in each one of the regions so that we don't necessarily have to go to the United States. So we don't have to necessarily spend 70 to 75 cents of every dollar in the United States, and Europe doesn't have to spend whatever it is that they're spending in the United States as well, because I'm sure they are spending some. So this allows us to do things.
Mhm.
So, for example, there's lots of discussions of like sub clauses and stuff like that, or qualifiers or conditions that, for example, like if we're involved in this, then Europe might be buying more Canadian steel and aluminum for their own defense things. Yes, and whereas we might be making some elements here or some components here that can then be put in to their equipment and vice versa. So there's some issues with regards to interoperability and all that kind of stuff, some agreements. So all those little sub-agreements that have to happen to make all of this happen, because it's not just, hey, let's get your munitions from over here or build your submarines over there. But with what and how and what technology and what level interoperability and what level of, and there's all these little other agreements that need to be there. And then again, if you're doing interoperability for Canada, you always have to keep in mind that yes, while we want to decouple from the United States, there's only so much of it we can do because we are bound by geography in a way that Europe is not. So pursuing greater interoperability and greater regulatory integration with the United States in such a way that we can still have some the practical stuff that we absolutely need from the United States side, right? If we're looking at defending from an attack across the north, that could, no matter how much the Canada and United States might be antagonistic with regard to each other, it's still both in our best interest to make sure that we're shored up there, right? So we're going to have to deal with each other and trust each other somehow, and I still don't know how we figure how we do that with the guy that we have down there now, but we kind of have no choice.
Well, we have to deal with him, but I mean, the rest of the world's trying to find ways to not deal with him anymore because he ain't normal.
It's just, again, lack of stability, man. It's the same thing as in trade, right? When we're looking at this like one Canada economy, right? And we're looking what Danielle Smith is doing in Alberta to create a completely political unstable environment that makes it not a good site for people to want to invest. And what Doug Ford's doing in Ontario in the north around the Ring of Fire area, it seems that while his Bill 5 is a pure monstrosity, it seems that he too has been bopped on the nose, and he's trying to fix whatever's in the law through the regulations underneath. Because in Canada, there's laws which have to pass through Parliament, and then and have to be published in the Gazette and all that kind of stuff. And then there are regulations which do have to be published in the Gazette, but so long as they flow directly and naturally from the law, they don't need to be passed in Parliament. Right. So there's the broad term in the law, and then like specifically how is that implemented, what does that look like, what are the sure details, that's the regulation process. So it seems that Doug Ford is trying to fix a lot of things in the regulations that are really messed up in the law, which is something he did not have any intention of doing. But it seems that a couple of people have made things pretty clear that if you want anything to be happening, you're going to have to do this. But he's doing it very, very quietly and not trying to bring any attention to it because, well, that would mean that he failed somehow.
Can't have that.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But it seems both of them, because yesterday we talked about sort of Mark Carney sort of realizing, I might have some damage control to do here. So here are these conferences, and here's this extra money, and here's this type of thing. And it's like, that might work for you, but you might need to learn that you need to bring them at the table even earlier than you did this time. But Doug Ford, like, for all the worry and doubt about how the federal government did C5 with regard to Indigenous participation, it's on steroids with Doug Ford. It's just, he's got a way bigger problem than Mark Carney ever has with this one. So he's got to do a lot more here. All right. So in that, here we go. You know what I'll do? Before going into some of the elements in detail, we have the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, talking about it. There was Antonio Costa before, who also, I always mix up their two titles because they're very close, but they're both EU representatives. But Antonio Costa spoke first. I'm not going to show him, not for any particular reason. That's, that his words are not important or anything like that. But he was the first to speak. So it's sort of like more overall and introductory. And a lot of the stuff that he said is sort of included in what I've reported already. But Ursula von der Leyen has been around longer. Costa is relatively new to the position, and so she's a name that we've heard about a long time and has some history in Canada, as you will hear in this response. So what she has
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Antonio. Prime Minister, dear Mark, at our last summit, it was an honor to visit St. John's, Newfoundland, which has a very special place in my heart because this is the place where my husband landed at the 9/11 attacks. And it was a time where my husband and later on me, we felt the warmth and the hospitality of the people of Newfoundland firsthand. Now, dear Mark, I've seen the beauty of Alberta in Kananaskis. You have indeed a vast country, and I'm happy to see more of it. Same goes for you, Antonio. So we'll be back, and we're very curious to see where you will lead us to, perhaps to the Arctic, which is so important to both of us, and where we have been so clear about the EU support to our Greenlandic partners. Dear Mark, you took the helm of the G7 presidency in challenging times, and you delivered. You brought countries together at a moment when unity is more vital than ever. You helped bring focus to pressing issues, encouraged frank exchange, and you said at this moment, we have to turn the many challenges into change. That is what we are doing today as we meet here in Brussels. As the saying goes, hard times reveal true friends. In these challenging times, we're taking huge steps forward to deepen our strategic partnership. And let me start with defense. Canada and the European Union have been working closely on this for years, both bilaterally and in NATO. Canada has been leading NATO's enhanced forward presence in Latvia since 2014. You're making Europe's eastern flank stronger and safer. And today we're stepping up our cooperation. As you said, we signed a security and defense partnership. It will strengthen Canada's role in Europe's rapidly evolving defense architecture. And it's just the beginning. We will now swiftly launch talks on Canada's access to a joint military procurement instrument. We call it SAFE. It's 150 billion euros. And together we will define where our cooperation can have the most value added and where we should channel joint investments. It will be good for our industries, it will be good for our people, and it will be good for the transatlantic security too. And of course it will be good for our continued support to Ukraine, because the more we invest in the highly innovative Ukrainian industry, the more the industry will be capable and the better Ukraine can defend itself. Dear Mark, Canada has shown incredible generosity to Ukraine, training almost 45,000 troops, welcoming the refugees. Today, Ukraine needs our support more than ever, and you made it clear in Kananaskis last week. We are determined to explore further sanctions to maximize pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. So far, the European Union and its member states have mobilized almost 150 billion euros. The friends of Ukraine, all of us, we must now plan for more support for 2026 and beyond. And of course, our focus is turned to the Ukrainian Recovery Conference in Rome in July. And as a key member of our donor platform, Canada is contributing significant financial support to Ukraine, crucial assistance for reconstruction projects, as well as invaluable technical assistance. In Kananaskis, we also discussed the importance of open, stable, and free trade among partners. It's a powerful foundation of our prosperity. CETA is our shared success story that illustrates this perfectly. And indeed, Antonio, you mentioned the 17% increase in trade since 2017 in numbers. It is, in 2023 alone, total trade reached an impressive 123 billion euros. And thanks to CETA, the EU's GDP grew by 3.2 billion, while Canada sees a 1.3 billion euro boost each year. So CETA stands as strong symbol of the power of free and fair trade. I must say 98% of our tariffs line are zero. I repeat it, zero. We know that the ratification process is still ongoing, but we are committed to get this done. That brings me to our economic security. Critical raw materials are at the heart of this effort. Canada is uniquely positioned with your unique resources. 90% of your mineral output is exported. That is music in our ears. And the European Union is, of course, proud to be the second largest customer. We want to deepen our cooperation with Canada by reinforcing our strategic partnership on raw materials, but our ambition goes far beyond that. That's why I'm pleased that we've agreed to launch the EU-Canada Industrial Policy Dialogue. That is a forum that will provide an opportunity for business leaders, government ministers, and commissioners from the European Commission to meet so that they can explore first-hand ways to strengthen our transatlantic supply chains in critical sectors, for example, sectors like clean technologies. Finally, a word on tech and innovation. We're home to world-class talent on both sides of the Atlantic. They are already working via Horizon Europe, the world's largest innovation program, but we can and we must do more to stay ahead in the global tech race, especially in digital. Building on CETA's success, I'm pleased that we've now agreed to launch work towards a digital trade agreement. On top of this, I think we should deepen our research cooperation in strategic technologies like quantum. Let's connect our supercomputers. We also want to explore Canada's participation in our AI Factory initiative. And just as in defense, we should align our standards. That means working towards mutual recognition of certifications for AI products, cybersecurity, and beyond. Later this year, we will hold the first EU-Canada Digital Partnership Council. It will give us the opportunity to go further. Dear Mark, thank you again for this great and productive summit. It's not over. We still have the dinner. This is the beginning of a new chapter in a long-standing friendship between Europe and Canada.
So, a lot of dear Marks in there. She really likes him. And of course, talking back to the history of her husband being on one of the flights that landed in Gander on 9/11.
Yes, he landed in Gander, apparently. She said St. John's, but...
Well, she got, he landed in Gander, and then she got to go to St. John's at some point for a meeting because she wasn't on that flight. So he got to experience in the welcome and warmth of Newfoundland in Gander, and then she got to experience it herself when she went to St. John's.
Okay. That makes sense, because I misunderstood the way she was speaking there.
Yeah. So lots of elements in there, but you can see that it's not just rearm Europe, right? It's also SAFE, which is a big initiative that stands for Security Action for Europe, which is a new EU financial instrument that will support member states who wish to invest in defense industrial production through common procurement focusing on priority capabilities. And it will also play a role in being able to further support Ukraine by associating its defense industry to the instrument from the start. So there's going to be a role for Ukraine in there, even though they're not part of the EU, which is interesting. The Polish Minister for the European Union, Adam Slapska, I will guess, because I do not recognize this character in the Polish alphabet. We have adopted the first large-scale defense investment program on the EU level worth $150 billion. This is not only a success of the presidency, but of the EU as a whole. This is an unprecedented instrument which will boost our defense capabilities and support our defense industry. The more we invest in our security and defense, the better we deter those who wish to harm us. So, like I mentioned, provide up to €150 billion that will be dispersed to interested member states upon demand and on the basis of national plans. The disbursements will take the form of competitively priced long maturity loans to be repaid by the beneficiary member states. To ensure economies of scale and interoperability and reduce possible fragmentation, Beneficiary member states will have to carry out, in principle, common procurements involving at least 2 participating countries to qualify for the loans. In response to current geopolitical situations and urgent need for massive investment in defense equipment, SAFE will also allow the procurement involving only one member state for a limited period of time. But does open it up to the involvement of third countries, so that's why Ukraine is there. Other EEA, EFTA countries will be treated on the same terms as member states, and of course, Canada has been declared eligible to participate as well, hence this signing. And it seems that it will, the first list of priority areas identified by the European Council, and this was back in March, will be divided into 2 categories of defense products: ammunition and missiles, artillery systems, including deep precision strike capabilities, ground combat capabilities, and their support systems, including soldier equipment and infantry weapons, critical infrastructure protection, cyber military mobility, including counter-mobility. And the second group or categories of products will be air and missile defense systems, maritime surface and underwater capabilities, drones and anti-drone systems, strategic enablers such as but not limited to strategic airlift, air-to-air refueling, and I'm going to have to defer to Hugh on this at some point, C4 I-STAR systems, as well as space assets and services, space assets protection, artificial intelligence, and electronic warfare.
Mm.
And then there are other defense categories it's called that are belonging to category 2, which will be subjected to stricter eligibility conditions requiring for the contracts to have the ability to decide on the definition, adaptation, and evolution of the design of the defense product procured. So for both categories, procurement contracts will have to ensure that the cost of the components originating outside the EU, EEA, and other states and Ukraine that are allowed to participate, so that would include Canada here, is not higher than 35% of the estimated costs of the components at the end product. So you can get up to 35% alone to help with that at, I'm going to guess, is relatively favorable rates here.
One would assume.
Yes. So a very big deal when you're considering 150 billion euro, because let's say that Canada even has access to 10% of contracts.
Mm-hmm.
It's still 15 billion euro worth of contracts.
It's a lot of money.
Right? And I have a feeling it might be a little more, considering critical minerals and all that kind of stuff, and the amount of aluminum and steel and stuff that we have. It possibly could very potentially be much more than that. So, yeah, this is a BFD.
Mm-hmm.
As one would call it. Now we have Mark Carney is going to talk a little bit. The beginning of his comments, again, not that they're important, but a lot of pleasantries that come in the diplomatic area, and but where we're going to start is where the meat of his comments basically.
We also, in this more dangerous and divided world, must be prepared to defend our people and our values, to secure our sovereignty and protect our allies. And to these ends, we will be in The Hague tomorrow with new commitments, significant commitments to our own and our mutual defense, meeting our NATO targets, further accelerating investments in coming years, but doing so, the EU and Canada, with this new security and defense partnership, which provides for this increased cooperation across the full spectrum of security. It will help us deliver on our new requirements for capabilities more rapidly and more effectively. It will help build our industries, secure our jurisdictions. So we are very pleased to be taking this important step towards participation in SAFE as part of Rearm Readiness Europe, bringing shared expertise, joint research and innovation. You know, at its core, final word, Europe was born as a project of peace. And Canada, over the years, over the decades, has served alongside European allies in pursuit of that peace. It's that, in those circumstances, from Vimy to Juno that the world came to know the value of our strength. But now we're working alongside the European Union to combat climate change, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and to protect, amongst other things, academic and scientific freedoms. In these ways, the world knows the strength of our values. And this partnership, which is in defense and security and economics, really builds those strengths in both our jurisdictions and lives up to our values. So with that, thank you for the partnership. It's not over. As you say, we have dinner, and I know in Europe, dinners are long and they involve a lot of work, at least when they're in this building. Other dinners in Europe are long and involve very little work, but this one will involve a lot of work, but so be it, because we have a lot of work to do. So with that, I'll hand back for questions. Thank you.
All right. We're going to show one question that came from CBC, Murray Brewster, in a couple of minutes here. With regard to this, Christian Leuprecht, who's a professor at the Royal Military College of Canada in Kingston, said that the way that the Defence Partnership and the Rearm Europe program are set up, they could not be considered a replacement for NATO. Right? That's why I've said it's going to build on or complementary to, because there's no operational military aspect to the individual arrangements. However, Leuprecht describes it as a cartel. So it's cartel-like, with a mission to drive down the prices of military equipment through collective procurement. A big component of the scheme, the Safe Loan Program, when I said it's 150 billion euro, that translates to about 235 billion dollars Canadian. So it's a decent amount of money here. So Murray Brewster from CBC wants to know, of course, what this really means and, of course, how we pay for it.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Mr. Grizzly, if you can play the next clip at
just trying to get it
1927.
up here. I was having some issues in the background, so just bear with me for a second, and I
Absolutely.
will up for you. There we go. It's all good to go now.
Sorry.
Good evening. Murray Brewster with CBC News. My question is for Prime Minister Carney. Prime Minister, if you could answer in both French and English, I'd appreciate it. This partnership that you've signed today, and recognizing that there is still some negotiation to do, Europe has its own defense industrial capacity challenges right now, just like Canada does. Can you explain how this particular partnership that you've signed today is going to get military equipment into the hands of the Canadian forces quickly, how it's going to expand Canada's defense industrial base, and how you're going to pay for it?
Yeah. So thank you very much for the question. The first thing, in terms of the challenges / opportunities that exist both for Europe and for Canada, is that we're both embarking on major investments in our defense capacities. We have some complementarities that will allow us both to move more rapidly because we have excess capacity in certain areas. For example, one of the things we need in Canada is just straight munitions. Okay, a very simple thing. Cooperation in aerospace, where there are complementarities both in European leadership, but also some Canadian leadership as well. Complementarities in areas related to, sorry to use the jargon, but the defense industrial pledge, so related defense spending that has dual use or other uses. And President von der Leyen mentioned AI and cyber, those areas which will be incredibly important for defense. So right at the point where both of our jurisdictions need to increase to combat defense threats, we pool our resources, or we can pool much of our resources. We'll be more than the sum of the parts. And as we build up those resources, we can do those in a way that's complementary and mutually reinforcing. One of the ways we can pay for this is the fact that what we will do should be more efficient for both of us, should be more cost-effective for both of us. The second thing is to recognize that if we do this right, we will also be building our overall economic capacity, which will be part of what's self-reinforcing. Et puis, en français.
All right. So, very important stuff here from the Prime Minister in terms of answering that question. Putting the link up here, that will bring you to the full text of the statement. Pardon my typing, kids and cubs. I'm having some difficulty today getting the words out correctly. Yeah, statement instead of statement. And I was correcting an error that Ursula von der Leyen had made in her statement, because she had mentioned that since the start of the CETA agreement back in 2017, that trade between Canada and the United States had increased by 17%. It's actually 71%. She inverted the numbers there on that one. And that's a statement that Mr. Costa had made in his declaration prior to it. So which represents about $123 billion in trade from the European side, and about $1.3 billion per year in additional trade from the Canadian side. And as Ursula von der Leyen made a point of stating, with zero tariffs. Sure, that wasn't a dig or shade on anyone.
No.
Not at all. Now, there was a big statement, as I mentioned, included the link that included a lot of things. And if you do read the statement, again, it has a lot of flowery words and aspirational language in it and that type of stuff. But there are also some very concrete things in here. And this thing really does read like all the things they would have liked everybody to agree at or on at the G7 in Kananaskis, but couldn't because of you know who.
Mm-hmm.
So they all decided to agree to these things here and then make the statement. So it's a statement that has 22 different points in it. Some of them are broad and then some of them are more specific. So there's a lot of, for example, support for Ukraine, stuff like calling for full unconditional ceasefire of at least 30 days, which Ukraine has already committed to, the return of Ukrainian children, and to support the international coalition that is working on that. So that type of stuff is there, increasing pressure on Russia, of course, to be able to come to certain things, but also certain elements, like, for example, reaffirming continued support for the Republic of Moldova. For those who don't know it, Moldova is a little tiny nation. It's considered the poorest nation in Europe, and it's just on the side, connected to Romania, but on the border with territories close to, well, basically Russia and that type of stuff. So Moldova, if Russia is successful in taking Ukraine, Moldova's next. Put it that way, because Moldova is not part officially of the EU yet, and
They
Russia
could literally roll over Moldova in a day.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a support for that there. Also, for example, support for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, which is also important, again, which never would have been agreed to at the G7, with a support for a two-state solution with no role for Hamas in the future governance of Gaza. There was some stuff with regard to Israel and Iran, for example, standing but ready to contribute to a negotiated deal. So the EU and Canada, if you need us to help broker some type of deal, we're willing to take a role in that, with to negotiate a deal that would impose verifiable constraints on Iran's nuclear program, with the International Atomic Energy Agency in charge of monitoring and verification. And with regard to that, as an aside, with regard to what was happening between Iran and Israel, when I stated yesterday, and I was quoting Timothy Snyder about, a lot of things that are going to be said in the hot takes, a lot of them are going to be wrong. And a lot of things that nation states are going to say are going to be primarily for domestic consumption. And the advice that I gave you to, whenever you hear a statement, wait to see if it's being repeated several times over the next 48 hours and still persists after 48 hours in reputable media, because there have been many statements already that have proven not to be true, that a lot of people have run with. So in terms of this, For example, when Donald Trump said that it was a complete military success and we totally obliterated, we found out yesterday that the International Atomic Energy Agency hasn't been on the ground to actually be able to assess that. These are bits of information that are important to know along the way. So there's stuff with regards to the ASEAN committee as well for to upholding a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific region based on international law, because they're also concerned by the by North Korea's activities there, and also China probably. So there's some look towards there. There's also look to continue engaging with each other on issues related to Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, including Haiti, with the security situation over there, which is interesting. There's specific mention of the Arctic, of course, and full respect of the and here they say the Arctic will remain an area of close collaboration to foster peace and security, stability, and sustainable economic development, in particular of the blue economy. And if you are wondering what the blue economy is, because you might have not heard of this, it refers to the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, and the health of ocean ecosystems. It encompasses various economic activities that rely on the ocean, including fisheries, tourism, shipping, and renewable energy, while also considering the long-term health and sustainability of marine environments. So, with regard to the blue economy, but this in full respect with the interests, priorities, and rights of Indigenous peoples in line with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So that might be yet another signal to the Indigenous communities who happen to be in Canada that he's serious about it.
Mhm.
Right? Here, another thing that's interested, that it was mentioned a little bit briefly, but the commitment to achieving and advancing the global sustainable development goals, working with partners across the globe. So that's the 2030 agenda, which is, as it's often known, with regard to the sustainable development goals. And there's going to be a fourth international conference on financing for development, which will take place in Sevilla from the 30th of June to July 3rd. I don't know if the Prime Minister has confirmed his specific attendance there or whether there will be a Canadian delegation. But again, this is one of the few times, this is only the second time in all of this that I've heard of a specific commitment with regard to foreign aid and foreign development, because we made a commitment of 0.7% there of GDP a long time ago, which we had never reached. And maybe with the United States pulling back, a lot more nations are feeling the need to invest in their soft power as well. So lots of things there. There's stuff on COP20 and the environment in there, and climate change. So it really is going through all the things that they could not have agreed on at the G7 with regard to the participation of Donald Trump there. So very comprehensive deal. There was a lot of work done. All the advanced teams and whatnot did a lot of work to get that prepared. So this is it's not just defense, right? It's defense, it's culture, it's economy, it's environment, it's the whole shebang. So when Mark Carney during the election specifically said that the time of deeper integration with the United States is over, he means it. Right. Now you're going to have people on the other side that's going to look at every single thing that we do in collaboration with the United States, again, geography oblige, as, oh, elbows down and on your knees. But you can't be elbows down and on your knees while you're doing this with Europe at the same time. And Europe, there's other nations in the world. Australia is sort of coming to a similar agreement with the EU on that. So much so that there are certain people, like I can't remember his first name, but Rasmussen, who was the former Secretary General of NATO, calling for something like a D7 group when it comes to defense, which would have countries like Canada, would have Canada and the EU, but would also involve Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea. along with more traditional partners like Japan that we have agreements with because Japan is part of the G7. So there's other groups of like-minded nations that are joining in, and these types of agreements are happening between them. And my guess would be is that if there is a movement to some type of D7 group as well, uh, with this type of integration between Canada and Europe, and if Australia is doing it too, and then you have um, Canada, US, no, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand thing as well. You're starting to see various groups uh, form and realign, and seeing how these groups could all sort of complement each other in here. So yeah, whew, there's a lot going on. And to be totally honest, right, a lot of this is over my pay grade. I don't understand what all of this means. And of course, we're still at the big broad lines and how all this gets executed. Lots, there could be snags and stuff. But on the whole, if we're talking about sending big signals and doing things that matter, and things that, when you look at those and join them in to the overall economic diversification, not only on defense, because if we are going to be doing more military equipment building and shipping and exporting and participation with other nations than the United States, then, for example, if Donald Trump is indeed hell-bent on destroying our auto industry, then a lot of that manufacturing over the years will be able to be retooled and reoriented to these types of agreements.
Mhm.
Right? So again, and if it doesn't, then we have both. So Prime Minister Mark Carney, in the initial comments that we did not show, made a point of making it very, very clear that these are things that we are doing irrespective of whatever we achieve with the United States. So if we don't achieve a deal with them, we're doing this. And if we do achieve a deal with them, we're still doing this. It's not going to be, oh, well, we got to deal with the United States. Okay, Europe, well, our old boyfriend has come back.
Mhm.
It's like, no. It's like, you
It's
can
over.
come back, but only so far.
It's done. No, it's done. It's not. It's finished. Trump signed that deal when he attacked Zelensky in the Oval Office. He upended 80 years of global cooperation in one fell swoop. And that was the moment where Mark Carney, who wasn't even prime minister at the time, was he prime minister when that happened?
That's a good question. I'm not sure about that.
The dates I'm not 100% clear on. But I mean, he very shortly soon came out and said, look, we'll lead the way because America can't anymore. It's as simple as that. Canada will lead the way. And Mark Carney will make his name on the global stage. It's already been well made, of course, amongst the wealthy and amongst bankers and amongst nations. But now more people will know who the Prime Minister of Canada is, and that we didn't come to play. We came to kick ass. I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Right. Just seeing here through Kit Uncover, stating here that the PPC's leadership review process has ended, and confirmed that Maxime Bernier was the leader by strong majority of the party members who voted. This may explain why Max Bernier has not yet made any noise about whether or not he would like to run in Battle River Crowfoot, because he had a leadership review happening. But now that he's been reconfirmed with a resounding majority, be prepared for an announcement to be coming soon enough.
Yeah, that could be interesting. He could go in and get himself a seat there, unseat Pierre Poilievre. I mean, it's what he's got working against him, though, in that part of the country is his name.
Yes. But they seem to really like him in Saskatchewan, so it's not that far a jump.
Yeah.
You never know. But Stay tuned, kids and cubs. Things might become interesting. Oh, man. Do you have any additional thoughts on this part here, Mr. Grizzly?
No, not really. I think you summed it up pretty nicely, to be honest with you. It's a lot of it is very, very dry subject matter.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not meant to be flashy. It shouldn't be flashy. It's dry and it's written like a technical white paper. It's supposed to be that way. It's as simple as that. No, I don't have anything to add to it. I like a lot of the things that the Prime Minister is doing. I'm still not in love with Bill C-5, and I still think there's more amendments that need to happen. And I think the Senate will send it back to the House and say, no, we can't put this into law. You need to change this, 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 and this. This is what I'm hoping. But you never know. There's enough conservative senators that might go, ooh. Let's undo those amendments that you already put in.
Indeed.
That could happen, right?
Yeah, no, it really could. That's like I said, it's at the rate at which the President of the United States changes his mind, right? This is constantly fluid.
Yes.
The thing is that hopefully he's picking up on and learning over time that whenever he does pull the rug out a little bit or a lot in one of his little fits of pique, that may be all that is required for other nations to try to make a slightly deeper integration. Because remember, right, with all of the steel and aluminum, for example, that we do export to the United States, and if the United States says they want to make it on their own, well, it takes some time to bring that online. And if that's not happening as fast as they need, because there was some discussion at some point, this was one thing, like, for example, it appeared in The Economist and they got it wrong. So again, one of these things that a lot of people ran with, but they said that one of the elements of the deal between Canada and the United States was going to be that Canada was going to grant the United States first right of refusal. Yes. Which was never, ever, ever a thing, but the Conservatives ran with that for about 2 days. I guess, and I don't even know how it got published in The Economist to start with, but it did. But it was bumped.
Somebody didn't do the fact check?
It would seem so, because it was such a juicy headline.
Well, The Economist is not known for printing salacious stories or salacious headlines. They're usually, their fact checking has always been second to none. So
So this was extraordinarily.
Yes.
Now they printed a retraction and all that kind of stuff, and they did what a responsible, media outlet does when they do make a mistake. But everybody's rather confounded as to how this mistake happened in the first place, because it's the frickin' Economist.
They're not known to be, like I said, they don't print salacious articles. They don't print salacious headlines. They fact check the hell out of everything before they write the story or publish it. So, yeah, it's weird.
Yep. So, with regard to what's going on, Israel and Iran, as mentioned before, right? Donald Trump went to social media, announced that Israel and Iran had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire that was going to be phased in over a period of 24 hours. It was the official end to the war, and congratulating everybody. Congratulations, Israel, and congratulations, Iran, for having the strength and the stamina and whatever to get this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there like, well, is Iran saying it? Is Israel saying it? And Iran did come in eventually and saying, yeah, we agreed to that. Was that for domestic consumption, or did they just see an opportunity that if because Trump and Netanyahu, as much as they'd like to seem that they're together, Netanyahu just keeps on doing his own thing.
Right.
Over and over and over again, upending whatever Trump says. So Iran's probably noticed that. So if Trump goes out and says, yes, there's an immediate ceasefire, Iran launches a couple of other things and say, yeah, we would like that ceasefire. Absolutely. Yes, we're totally on board for that, which of course puts the screws to Israel a little bit. Right. But apparently uh, Tehran launched a couple of others. There was an attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar. Wait, that news came out, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, Article 5, that's going to happen now." And turns out that Iran let Qatar know that it was happening.
Yes.
They chose a base that was not in a populated area. It seems that, according to the United States, Qatar also let them know it was happening. That part, I have not heard any confirmation from the Qataris or the Iranis, Iranians, that this had actually happened.
In this instance, I was speaking to a friend of mine who works in counterterrorism, and he was telling me that Article 5 cannot be invoked in this instance because the United States was the aggressor. They attacked Iran. Iran responded. There's no Article 5.
Yeah, so that could be one.
Okay. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, Article 5 is when somebody just attacks you out of nowhere.
Yes. But also, it only applies to attacks in North America and in Europe.
Right.
Qatar is in neither.
Middle East.
Which is technically Asia.
Correct. So, yeah.
It doesn't apply.
So I thought we were about to get dragged into something here, and it looks like, well, we will eventually if Trump keeps it up, but it's not happening in the next week or so. I can guarantee you that. Well, actually, I shouldn't guarantee you that. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, really? That's what I mean. He changes his mind. We can't. Everything is as firm as it can be in the moment.
Well, the man just goes off and nonstop. And I'm reading here an interesting article from the New York Times. I'm just going to give you a snippet of it because this is fascinating. It says, hours after Israel's first wave of attacks on June 13th, a day later, one advisor told the Times Trump seemed to have already decided to go through with it. At times, Trump's penchant for social media was the biggest threat to the operation's secrecy. Last Monday, he posted on Truth Social that everyone should evacuate Tehran. The next day, he revealed that he had left a meeting of the Group of 7 in Canada, not to broker a Middle East ceasefire, but for something much bigger. He added, "Stay tuned." Inside the Pentagon and the U.S. Central Command, military planners worried that Trump was giving Iran too much warning about impending strike. So they worked up their own ruse. They had 2 fleets of B-2 bombers leave Missouri at the same time, one flying east and one flying west. So they created their own diversionary tactic because their commander-in-chief is a freaking idiot with a big mouth who has to brag about what he's about to do.
Yes, which, of course, gave Iran plenty of time, for example, to move whatever enriched uranium they had to another place, and maybe some specific components that they would like to keep very safe. So again, when Donald Trump says it was a complete military success and we obliterated everything, did you? Did you really? Really? Did you? How do you know? Right? It's like, and again, going to confirm a little bit that tweet from Tabitha Southey from the Globe and Mail, right? Suggesting that maybe Trump did this so that he could brag about it on internet.
Oh, guaranteed he did. I guarantee he did. He loves to brag. He loves to toot his own horn and pat himself on the back for the great job he did.
Yeah, which is a scary thought when you think about it.
That is not.
I'm willing to drop bombs so that I have something to brag about on internet.
And then say it's a ceasefire. Give me the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
It's like the Peacemaker from the DC comic books and the series. Peace. I want peace, and I'll kill as many people as it takes to get it.
Yeah.
Now we might get censored because I use the word KILL, but I'm quoting a cartoon, a comic book character. So settle down, algorithm people. Settle down. Direct quote from a television program and a comic book character. Yeah.
So the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, said that Tehran would stop its attacks if Israel stopped theirs by 4 a.m. local time. Not sure that actually happened.
Well, at 7 a.m., the ceasefire came into effect. However, at 7:06 a.m., Iran launched another missile towards Israeli territory, followed by 2 more missiles at 10:25 a.m. All 3 were intercepted or landed in open areas, causing no casualties or damage. In response to these violations, the Israeli Air Force destroyed a radar installation near Tehran. Following a phone call between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel refrained from carrying out additional strikes.
Hmm.
Well,
Interesting.
we'll see. Anyway, I do have to go.
Okay.
My puppy dog is anxious to get outside, and I have to take her out before it gets too hot. Yesterday, there were short walks, and it didn't take much convincing to get her to come back home yesterday. I was like, let's go home. It's nice and cool. You can lie under the air conditioner. Yeah, it's what I got. Normally, she'll just, I don't want to go home. And I'm like, we have treats, we have food, we have water, we have cool air. She's like, yeah, okay, let's go. So I will see you all later. I'm still working on a couple of different things. Hopefully, I can get to them today if I don't have any complications that arise. Yesterday was not a productive day for me, really, because of the fact that it was so stinking hot. I had to get my other air conditioner set up in the living room because it was just too much. It was 28 degrees in here yesterday, but when I left the show at 8:30, so yeah, it's we're looking at another 45 degree with the Humidex day. So the air is running in both machines and the fans are going. So keep the place comfortable until such time as I see you again. Stay frosty.
Cranky Canuck. All right, kits and cubs. So yeah, lots of news flying fast and quickly with regard to that. And again, the situation is very unstable and rapidly changing. So, as I mentioned, if you're following this, do so like you would, but just remember, every new development might not actually be what it is first reported as more information comes in. So be cautious, like I mentioned, and as I mentioned yesterday, this applies for war. It involves for things like manhunts. If everybody remembers what was going on in Nova Scotia when that person disguised himself as a police officer, again, a lot of the first initial reports that were coming out weren't exactly accurate. Right? It also happens in the cases of disasters. When they happen, they say, "Oh, this happened, and this, there was this thing," and then we find out a little later, upon further investigation, it wasn't specifically that. So, just there's a lot of people that are rushing to be the first to have the scoop and to have the latest development and to have the hot take on it, based on information that's not necessarily complete. Another example of this that we had in our recent past is when that car accident happened near the Niagara Bridge, and Fox News made a report, and then Pierre Poilievre ran with that and said, it was a terrorist attack, and was setting the table to blame Justin Trudeau somehow for have not done enough to try to keep Canada safe, because I'm guessing he was saying, he's going to say he was on the bridge and coming to Canada. We need to stop that, when there's nothing we could have done to stop that until, that person actually got to the Canadian side in any way, shape, or form. And then we found out that it wasn't that at all. Right? Well, he relied on media reports. Well, you shouldn't. That's the whole point. Media training 101, especially if you're a political leader and you're in this position of authority and influence over a lot of people. Being the first out to have the hot take is not necessarily to your advantage. We often see things happen, and say, well, why hasn't the Prime Minister made a statement yet? Often the reason is because there isn't enough information confirmed. You want that statement to last more than 15 seconds, right? You don't want somebody to put out a tweet the next day going, well, gee, this aged well. So sometimes we live in a 24/7 on-demand world where we're expecting everything instantly. And there are certain things that only time can do. And it's having the discipline to be able to wait when you're in a position of authority for that time to happen, to go by, to either confirm or deny something that is being reported as a fact in the moment before making a pronouncement on it. And yes, that sometimes means that, everybody's being talked about and it looks like you're lagging behind. But if everybody else is wrong, and by you waiting an extra day or an extra 6 hours are right the first time you open your mouth, it's better. It's better. It's better to be out of the conversation for the first few hours and have something meaningful and correct to say the first time you open your mouth when you decide to participate than being the first one to open your mouth, get all the coverage, and then the news come out a few hours later, a few days later, that you were wrong. So a little restraint in certain cases is good, but us as a public, also the expectation that, you have to have a response now. We need to pull back on that. I also watched yesterday the clip of the Daily Show that Mr. Grizzly was referring to with regard to all the times that Benjamin Netanyahu was saying all the way back to, I think, to 2012, that Iran was just a couple of days away from some type of bomb. There was also in there another segment with regards to the United States and the use of military force for foreign wars. And this is what's caused a lot of the split in the Republican side, where you're seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene making statements going, against Trump, which is something I never thought I would ever see, because he might be getting the U.S. into another war over there, and showing the juxtaposition between these same commentators saying, we can't spend that money over there, we need that money for over home, like this. And then when talking about protests in the United States against ICE or whatnot, we need to deploy the military against them. So it seems that in the United States, this Republican push for peace or not getting involved in foreign wars is more because they would like the army to not be busy over there so that it could be used against their perceived enemies on their home soil. And that is not good, because there should be no political party in any country, well, especially an advanced nation, that is taking the position that people within your own nation, simply because they have different political views, are a greater enemy than foreign enemies that want to do you harm, and that the full weight of your military should be reserved so it could be deployed against fellow citizens. That should make you shudder. And that's rhetoric we cannot start having happen here. And there are certain people that want to push it. When we had the economist David Gray here talking about the Alberta separation stuff, his big fear that some of the response may eventually end up being kinetic. It's based on what people are observing going on in other nations. So these Republicans that are calling for non-aggression and non-involvement in other wars, you have to look at those comments in the context of all the ways that they would like their military to be used and against whom. And then all of a sudden you realized they're not really for peace. They just want them for a civil war, not a foreign one. Some food for thought there on that. Because I hadn't picked up on it. And when I saw the people on the Daily Show put them together, hearing the Charlie Kirks saying, oh my God, we can't do that. And then seeing him enraged and inflamed Alex Jones style when talking about deploying the military against U.S. citizens. The way back around the time of 9/11, people were talking about deploying them against external terrorists. It scared the shiitake out of me. I snapped up and I paid attention. There are certain types of speech that contribute absolutely nothing good and nothing of worth to any society, and that specifically falls into that type of speech. And one of the positions that I have is whatever your view is on whatever the situation is going on other places in the world, there's always a duty here to ensure that whatever violence is happening there for whatever motives or reasons does not transpose over here, especially in a very pluralistic society where all our governments are supposed to govern for all people. We probably shouldn't have governments taking positions that cause or that have the potential to cause violence here. Not wise. So a little reflection, a little temperance, a little refraining to be all in sometimes for one side, as much as it displeases some, might be what's in the best interest of the nation as a whole. Right? There are other considerations than just the moral aspect. It would be nice if we lived in the world where all we had to do is ask everybody to do the moral thing, and there would be no negative consequences. But when you have groups of people that can't agree on what is the moral thing, you're going to get division. And while it's healthy to have different opinions and to be able to talk about them healthily, there are certain subjects that are so viscerally affected that may, I'm not going to say may be impossible, but may be much more of a challenge. And whenever you have a situation like that, unfortunately, we live in a world that there's always somebody there that's just willing and ready to fan the flames. So we need to be vigilant. If we want to protect our society and our way of life, we need to be very vigilant that we do not elect politicians that would gleefully exploit those types of rifts and schisms in society in order to accelerate them or inflame them for some type of personal gain that has nothing to do with providing a solution to the problem that would be going on over there. Because that's just weaponizing people's anguish and using it against them. And no government, no party that aspires to be a government should be seeking to exploit the anguish of its citizens in order to create more anguish in-house. That should be instant disqualification in the minds of the citizens. Unfortunately, as a society, we're not there yet. But we have to strive to be better. We have to, in this world where everything's going fast, we do have to strive to remember to take a breath and wonder, who is this person? Who do they represent? With whom do they have ties? Why are they saying this? To whom specifically are they saying this? Is this a message for the general audience, or is this a message for a very specific audience that's delivered in a general way? What is their motive for saying this? And who benefits? That's asking people to do a lot of work, especially when they're busy. And if they're afraid or concerned or worried, particularly for loved ones and friends, that's even harder to do. And it makes it so much easier for those who are making these statements to formulate them in such a way that they bypass the reflective, thoughtful center and go directly to the emotional. So we need to be vigilant. All these statements that are coming out, it's like, okay, is this true? Who's confirming it? Have I seen it? Why is this person saying it? What's the motive? Who benefits? Like I said, I admit it's a lot of work, but it's necessary work if you want to make sure that you are not contributing, even inadvertently, to making things worse. And we should be demanding better from our leaders on that front. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Sharing is caring. And when you share our content with your peeps and poops because you are influencers in your own circles and add a little word of your own to it, well, that makes us feel very good. So thank you so much, kids and cubs, for all you do to help on that front. And yesterday was a really, really nice day because we got some warm fuzzies. Kit Hugh had sent us a note yesterday that at the school at which he teaches, there was a student there one day that pushed their phone in his face, as he calls it, and said, quote, "Oh my God, these guys get it." And apparently it was one of our shows, and it had something to do with being rainbow. Those are the types of comments. You know, Kid Hugh said, "Don't let it go to your head." This is it. It doesn't go to my head. It goes directly to my heart, because that's why we do this. It's one of the many reasons. I can't say it's the only reason, but it's one of the many reasons that we do this. So, to you, young person, if you happen to be listening to the show, will not reveal your name. Thank you for seeing us. We see you, and I think I can speak for Mr. Grizzly here, are giving you the biggest hug. And just know that you are already living your authentic life because you know who you are. So that sparkle that you have, don't let anything or anyone get in the way of letting that shine. Right? You are where you are supposed to be, and you are who you are supposed to be. Just let that happen. Be confident. You know who you are, even though other people might not know it yet, or other people might not accept it yet, or other people might not see you. You know who you are. Which means right now, things might be tough, but there's going to come a point in life where for you, things are going to be really good because you worked through that process of getting to know yourself and discovering who you are and living your truth way before many people in their lives get there, and some people never do. So you're on the right path, and we support you. Right? Okay. Just every now and then you get some feedback that just lets you know, Yeah. Okay. We did some good. And so that meant the world to me to get that feedback. Kids and Cubs, if you are busy and you are on the go and don't want to miss a single one of our episodes, well, you don't have to, because we're not only visual, we are oral, AURAL. So take us with you. Scan that QR code made available to you by the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. And if you happen to be listening and want to go there, it's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you in podcast form, your favorite podcast feed. You don't even have to go looking for us. And if you happen to be listening to us on podcast and have the ability to give us stars and reviews, please do, because that helps us with the algorithm. If you would like to help us in other ways, I am sure that Kits Elaine and Kits Cassie would very much encourage you to make a trip on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, and you can scan that QR code that appeared in the corner if you're watching to bring you there. And there we have like, share, and subscribe, 3 buttons for you to click on. And if you're watching live, remember, if you smash now, you don't have to do it before you leave. So come on and smash with us. It's fun. It's true. It's really a lot of fun. And plus, it makes us very happy when you do. And that too helps us with the algorithm. So thanks, hey? If you would like to help us in yet another way, financially, because we do incur some costs to bring the show to you. So if you like it, you enjoy it, you find it informative, if some of the content that we have resonates with you, we would be very grateful to receive an enthusiastic expression of encouragement from you in the form of a tip. And I'm shaking it now. Shaking it for tips. There you go. It's the best stuff. Boom, boom, boom. Shoulder action too. If you would like to give us a little tip, then please, or a big tip. Hey, we don't judge. We don't discriminate based on size here at the Beaver Lodge. Please take a trip on down to our coffee page. The QR code that appeared in the corner will bring you there. And that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you will find the emergency hydration fund here at the Beaver Lodge, where you can do your contribution, make your contribution to keeping the beaver population moist, because a moist beaver is always a happy beaver. Thank you for all of your support. We really appreciate it. All right, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. If you live in Alberta and you did vote in those by-elections, take a day off. You've earned it. Congratulations on doing the hard work of democracy, getting involved, putting your body in the game. We really appreciate it. If you are elsewhere in the country, remember that your fellow citizens in Saskatchewan and Manitoba probably need some help. Sorry, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, with the wildfire situation. So please make a donation to the Red Cross if you are able. Remember that donations are being matched by the federal and provincial governments in Manitoba. So every dollar that you donate is worth 3. And in the case of Saskatchewan, the federal government only is making the donation there. So every dollar is worth 2 in that case. And you can make those donations by going to the Red Cross website, www.redcross.ca, or by email at wecare@redcross.ca, or by contacting the Red Cross by phone at 1-800-418-1111. That's 1-800-418-1111. We care at redcross.ca and www.redcross.ca. There you go, kids and cubs. Also, a little personal one today, if you are able, kids and cubs, it would be very meaningful to me. As you know, I like to do musical theater, and a few years ago, I think I was in a musical called We Will Rock You. One of our castmates, unfortunately, their family suffered a big fire at their home, and they've lost a lot. They've lost their home, pretty much. So if you are able to donate to this cause, we would really, really appreciate it. I would personally really appreciate it because it's always different when it hits close to home, right? It just always does. So when you happen to, it's when it happens out there in the world, but you don't happen to know anybody specifically who's affected. That's one thing. But when you do, um, it's it just happens at another level. So if you are able to help the Sullivan family, I have put the URL here in the chat, and I would really appreciate whatever it is that you're able to donate. These are wonderful, delightful, kind people, and their daughter, with whom I was in the show, is just a pure joy to be around, and very talented, and so they've got a lot going on. So again, for the kids who are listening, tinyurl.com/38AZPXCF, or if you happen to be looking by name on GoFundMe, it would be referred to as "Please Help the Sullivan Family." So look for that. They have a $30,000 goal. They're only at about under 2,500. So they do need some help. So anything that you can do to help this wonderful family would definitely be appreciated, not only by them, but by me personally. So thank you very much. So a little bit of a self-interested democracy, something that you do today. All right, kits and cubs, words of wisdom. I don't think I can do any better than Mr. Grizzly here on that. But if I was to add anything, it would just be to repeat what I said before. Lots of news is coming at you, hard and fast and furious. So hear the news, put it in the file folder, but don't run with it. Wait to see if you get corroboration from credible sources. Wait to see if that piece of news lasts and ages well. And then if it does, then factor it into your knowledge bank and use it for whatever positions you are taking or what you're thinking about, or whatever you're going to be concerned about. But it's important for us to manage our stress in this moment, which means not reacting to every single detail. Yes. So being a little detached from the emotional impact of the news that is being given to you, is to allow your logical and your rational centers to process it, to then determine whether or not you should give of your emotion to it. Because if you give your emotion to everything, you can quickly get exhausted. All right. So some self-preservation, some self-care on that. All right. That's all I've got for you today. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Now, at the count of 3, kits and cubs, can I please have you say, Mr. Grizzly? I have an identity issue today. Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes. Delightful, melodious. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. right, kits and cubs. Just a little stuff before we go. Yeah, I saw some kids here in the chat talking about a Rocky Horror Picture Show as a musical is one that I suspect I could be good in. I've thought that too, actually, and the the Tim Curry character is in my actual vocal range. So if ever somebody does it one day, that would be fun. The one that's coming up in our area is Guys and Dolls, however, which also speaks to me because there's a lot of songs in there that I grew up with. And it's the type of music that I tend to sing naturally rather well. So that's one I'm going to go audition for when it comes about. So keep your fingers crossed for me for that, but that's not coming for a while yet. Maybe late August or whatnot. Auditions probably will be. But yeah, I am thinking of getting back into it, and my energy resources are a little better. Yeah, I might be on stage soon, Kids and Cubs. Thank you for the love on that one. Really, really appreciate that. Kit Saucy, having thoughts about you as well, because the big day is coming. And I remember my Beaver Sweetie and I's offer still stands. If ever there are more on the way and you feel you have too many, we are glad to take one off your hands. We're playing here, but really, we're willing to take one off your hands. Some Canadians who make us proud before we go, Kids and Cubs, at the CONCACAF. Is it CONCACAF? The Gold Cup, sorry, mixing up. There's a lot of soccer tournaments going on. Team Canada had a bit of a setback with a 1-1 tie against Curacao, who scored, I believe, in extra time at the 94th minute, and then Team Canada wasn't able to get back. So their final match in pool play against El Salvador today. If they win, they advance to the next round with at the top of their pool, which will allow them to have a better draw to be able to advance further and maybe take the prize. But yes, that decision, the way that the team played in the second half, it's like they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and got them into trouble a little bit. So hopefully the last game in pool play goes well. At Wimbledon, Liam Drexel unfortunately lost his first round of qualifications, but Alexis Garnon did. The women's qualifications starts today with 5 Canadian women in the draw, including Bianca Andreescu, Rebecca Marino, Carson Branstein, and Victoria Mboko, who we've been talking about a lot, who hasn't played, has taken some time off in the grass season because we mentioned she had been playing a lot of matches this year. So took a couple of weeks off and will be playing her first match on grass. Not sure how things will go because of the 3 services. That's the one that's the most difficult to get used to, but we will be cheering for them all. And Gabriela Dabrowski, who's our ace doubles player, has been away for a while, has returned to the courts, lost her first match back, but hey, it takes a little while to get your feet back under you after taking some time off. So hopefully she'll be ready for Wimbledon with some extra practice there. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who yesterday we talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder winning its first NBA championships, had a game-high 29 points and 12 assists in the 103-91 win over Indiana in Game 7, and was named the MVP of the finals, becoming the first Canadian and just the 5th non-American to win the award in its 56-year history. So congratulations to him for that. And at the International Basketball 3-on-3 tournament in Mongolia, Team Canada, the women's team, won their first 2 matches against Latvia 17-10 and against Austria 20-15. And the men, who are seeded number 17th, had an upset against team number 6, Austria, 22-19. And this morning, while we were on air, played Latvia, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, China. I don't know why I made that mistake. And so, yeah, hopefully there was a good result for them there at that tournament as well, in that part of the tournament. And yeah, and hopefully it's a good record for both. I'm looking at, nope, China won at 22-20, so close. So the men are 1-1 and 2-0 as they continue pool play. And that's all I got for you today, kids and cubs. All right. See you soon.